December 16th, 1944, the Ardennes forest. The ground was so frozen it shattered like glass under the soldiers' feet. This was Hitler's last gamble, and the entire bet was on this man, Joachim Peiper. Peiper and his soldiers faced an enemy far more dangerous than the Americans. They faced a fuel gauge. The Tiger and Panther tanks were terrifying beasts, but they were thirsty. A single tank would burn through a gallon of fuel to move a mile. The plan in Berlin was brilliant. They captured the port of Antwerp, but on the ground. It was a suicide mission. The continuation of the attack didn't depend on the bravery of the soldiers. It depended on stealing American fuel. This wasn't a battle. It was an armed robbery, and the prize was survival. At 5:30 a.m., the forest shook with a sound not bullets, but the roar of hell. 2,000 German guns opened fire simultaneously. The earth screamed. Peiper and his men moved in their steel coffins. There was no turning back. Every mile they advanced toward the enemy brought them 1 mile closer to an empty fuel depot. The American line didn't just bend, it shattered completely. The new recruits witnessed a nightmare unfold. Tiger tanks emerged from the trees, bazooka rounds pounding them like stones against a fortress. Peiper's orders were absolute, no stopping. Speed was everything. Anyone who stopped died. This obsession with speed led his unit to commit one of the most horrific crimes at Malmedy. Time was more precious to them than the lives of prisoners. Imagine yourself inside the tank. The smell of gunpowder, the heat, the deafening roar of the Maybach engine to the narrow eye hole. Outside, the world was chaos, fire, and fleeing American soldiers. They did the impossible, creating a 20-mile breach in the front, but the harsh reality still haunted them. Every time the engine roared to climb a hill, the fuel needle wobbled, getting closer to zero. Peiper was shouting into the radio, not asking about enemy positions, but about fuel. The tanks were slowly dying, and the entire operation bled with every mile they advanced. Suddenly, a glimmer of hope appeared on the radio. The scouts spotted a treasure in the city of Büllingen. Not just any city, it was a complete American fuel depot, 50,000 gallons waiting for them. The gamble is not over yet. The attack on Büllingen wasn't a battle. It was merely a formality. The American soldiers retreated before the tanks. Peiper and his men entered the depot, and what they saw there stopped them in their tracks. These weren't just barrels. They were an entire city of supplies. Pyramids of gasoline jerrycans stretched as far as the eye could see. Thousands of gallons of fuel, boxes of food, new tires. The Americans had dumped a fortune in the middle of the forest, and they didn't care. Peiper's soldiers were like madmen with joy. They jumped out of their tanks and started filling up with fuel. Victory was within their grasp. But Peiper stood alone amidst the mountains of green metal, and the joy in his heart turned to cold terror. In Germany, people were begging for a single liter of gasoline, and his own tanks had launched the attack almost empty. Here, the Americans had left 50,000 gallons out in the open, guarded by a few cooks and clerks. This wasn't a major depot. It was just chained for them. This abundance was more terrifying than any tank. Peiper grasped the bitter truth. He had won one battle, but behind it lay an entire ocean of industrial might that Germany could never defeat. The laughter of his soldiers vanished from his ears. The smell of gasoline, once a scent of victory, now smelled of a funeral. He had won the Battle of Büllingen, but in that moment, standing amidst his enemy's bounty, Joachim Peiper knew he had lost the war.